D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful Monday, and we hope you had a wonderful holiday weekend. Derek's here. I'm here. David's here. Willie is back in L.A., where the Predators will once again face the Los Angeles Kings tonight in a big one, a huge one, a massive one, an enormous one. I ran out of synonyms, but it's a big one. 9:30 p.m. Central puck drop, 8:30 p.m. Central pregame, as always, right here on 102.5 The Game. And I do want to start today's program by reading a text from my wife. Mm-hmm. So, as all of you may know, my wife and kids are in Florida visiting my wife's parents. I dropped them off on Thursday, mid to late morning. They come back tomorrow. And from what I understand, they have been having a wonderful time. But I woke up this morning and received a text message from my wife at 7:52 a.m. Mm-hmm. And it reads this, quote, "Our son is being an a-hole." She did not say a-hole. I can't say what she actually said.
There was no mincing of the words.
No. Huh? Our son is being an a-hole, quote, unquote.
Hey, that is a mom's right to vent.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That out there.
Hey, if a mom says that, then that's what he's being.
Yep.
Yes, he's terrorizing his cousin, who's roughly the same age. Apparently, at the beach earlier today, he knocked down some of her sandcastles.
Oh, my goodness.
And then when she yelled at him for doing that, he got upset because she yelled at him, to which my wife said, "You did it, so you could be yelled at."
He's a madman. Arlo is going, wow.
You got to test
Arlo in Florida.
He is being a Florida man.
Exactly.
A Florida man.
He is being a Florida man. And I guess my wife must be listening. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, she's not. But just as I'm saying that, she sent me another text message. 302, quote, "Arlo is being such a jerk." He told Stella, my niece, no one is going to be her best friend.
Oh, my goodness.
Arlo, what is going on down there?
Florida man.
Yes.
On this episode of Florida Man.
I'm texting her back. He's being such a Florida man.
Oh, my goodness. Arlo is off hinge right now, man.
It's spring break for Arlo.
Oh, man, he's having it.
He's throwing caution to the wind. I mean, Willie is a Florida man, but Willie doesn't have these problems.
Oh, man.
Did the Florida men exist when you were living in Florida, or is this a new thing?
100%. Are you kidding? Anytime you could go to somebody's neighborhood and there might be alligators in the water nearby, and people are throwing stakes to the alligators. I mean, it can get a little bit off the rails.
Very quickly, I'm sure.
What kind of steaks are we talking here?
Porterhouse?
I've seen it all. They
T-bone.
They think it's a good idea to bring the alligators out of the water up to your porch, or not porch, but it was like an overhang. Mm-hmm. You had elevation. But they're like, yeah, let's feed them. We're like, no, don't do it. Like but this is the Florida man. The Florida man says, yeah, we can do that. Sounds like a great idea.
It seems a little inhumane.
Oh, my goodness.
Just a little.
What is in the water in Florida? Did Arlo drink some water?
I don't know what's going on with him. You know how it is with kids. Man. Too much togetherness.
Yeah.
They've been playing with each other now
the sun's getting to him.
4 or 5 days. Yeah, the sun's getting to him, obviously. So hopefully he gets whatever this is out of his system. Because if he's acting like this when I pick him up tomorrow, we're going to have problems. We're going to have problems.
That is putting down the law.
I'm not much of a disciplinarian, but yeah.
You're going to put your foot down now.
I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to have to. But when I woke up this morning, my first thought was, well, he's not my problem today.
I'm glad she didn't hear that. I pray to God she didn't hear that.
Hopefully she's not listening.
I don't think she's listening right now. But what will happen is I'll tell her that we talked about this, then she'll go back and listen, and then I'll get in trouble. So I'm setting myself up here. So maybe I just won't tell her to listen. Anyway, let's get back to the news of the day. And there's a lot of news today. We've got Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter at 3:40. We're going to get into the NFL draft. We're going to get into college basketball. The men's national title game is tonight. We'll get into the women's tournament as well. Gino Auriemma is a big old baby, and we will discuss that as well later in the program. But let's start with the local professional hockey team, as I alluded to earlier. The Predators are back in L.A. Willie was in L.A., went to San Jose. Now he's back in L.A. For yet another matchup with the Kings. Again, at 9:30 p.m. Central puck drop, 8:30 p.m. Central pregame right here on 102.5 The Game. And it's the biggest game of the season yet again. All of these games are huge games for the Predators. MoneyPuck.com says there is a 40 percentage point swing tonight for the Predators and Kings playoff chances, depending on the outcome of this game. The Predators are coming off of a 6-3 win in San Jose. On Saturday night, the Predators jumped out to a 3-0 lead. The Sharks fought back, and then the Predators, thanks to Ryan O'Reilly and Eric Halla, prevented the Sharks' comeback attempt. So, Willie, let's set up the biggest game of the year once again. Predators versus Kings tonight, late night in LA.
Yeah, it is great that they keep earning these chances to go out there and play in games that mean so much. I try to keep that in the back of my mind the whole time and not take it for granted, because it really, back in November and December, we just didn't think, none of us on our show, and probably 99% of the fan base just thought that this was not possible just to get to this point. And the guys in that locker room, they never gave up hope. And so they've shown some character here. For a long time, remember guys, they kept falling behind 2-0 and coming back and finding ways to win or make games of it. Now they've had 2 straight games where they have not been able to hang on or grow a 3-goal lead. They've come back to tie, and they've still found ways to win. So they have taken every route. They have been through the ringer. They're pretty battle tested. And then you play a game against the Kings, who seem to go to overtime every time they play. So it really does look like this will be a fun game to watch tonight.
And I don't want to get too hyperbolic, because we've been talking about the biggest game of the year over the past several games. The last game against the Kings was the biggest game of the year. The game against the Sharks on Saturday was the biggest game of the year. This is the biggest game of the year. But I do think, Willie and Derek, that a lot does hinge on this game, because it is the last time that these two teams will meet this season. As Willie mentioned, the Kings yet again went to overtime on Saturday and won 7-6 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Kings and Predators are tied in points. The Predators will have the tiebreaker against the Kings. The number one tiebreaker in the NHL is regulation wins. The Predators have 26, the Kings have 19, and they have 6 games left. So the Predators and Kings, let me rephrase that. The Predators have the tiebreaker. So if the Kings want to make the playoffs, they will have to finish with more points than the Predators. If they finish tied, the Predators, based on the standings at the moment, will ultimately win that tiebreaker.
Are you eliminating San Jose right now?
I am not eliminating San Jose. Willie, you tell me. I am waving goodbye to the Seattle Kraken. I think the Seattle Kraken have played themselves out of the wild card race. They are 6 points back with 7 games left. They've lost 3 in a row, 8 of 10. See ya. So I am putting Seattle in a different category. The Predators are there are 5 teams within 3 points of that final spot. Nashville, LA, San Jose, St. Louis, and Winnipeg. And there are some big games tonight, Willie, other than the Predators game against the Kings. The Kraken play the Jets, and the Blackhawks play the Sharks. So a lot of Western wildcard teams are in action tonight. So a lot of scoreboard watching that's going to be happening. So I do think if the Predators can get a win in regulation, take a 2-point lead on the Kings with 5 games left in the season, knowing they have the tiebreaker, that is huge. So I do think there is a lot riding on this game.
Yeah, and you feel like tomorrow. Now the Ducks have been slumping but the Ducks will be very rested going into tomorrow's game in Anaheim. And then you've got a really tough one against Utah on Thursday. So the trip only gets tougher from here, even though they've already won 2 ginormous games to start this trip to put themselves back into a reasonable position here. But boy, I mean, there's so many possibilities here. It's just you wouldn't even have to put the probability up there, right? To realize that the importance of the head-to-head, like the old 4-point game, to be able to win this game tonight would give you such a great inside track. It gives you just a little bit of margin for error. And like I just said, it'll be tough to win the last couple of games on this trip. You're going to have that back end of back-to-back to deal with tomorrow against a playoff team, and then you got to go to Utah, which is always a tough place to win.
Now, when you mean win, you mean they need to get the 2 points and the Kings none. This doesn't need to go into a shootout.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, ideally, yeah.
Yes.
But I mean,
a win is a win. But yes,
the Kings have set a record for going to overtime.
Mhm.
Like nobody goes to overtime more than the Kings. It's already history, and they're only adding to it. So I just assume every Kings game goes to overtime. So I would not be surprised if that happens tonight.
I mean, if you're a betting man, which I'm not,
They've had 13 of them.
If you're a betting man, put some shekels on this game going to overtime because it's a safe bet. Because that's what the
31 times they've been to overtime.
31.
Oh, it hasn't been 30.
The Kings have set 2 NHL records. Correct me if I'm wrong, Willie, for most games that have gone to overtime and most overtime losses in a season.
Yep. Derek, you mentioned 13 shootouts, which is a really high number of shootouts to have. The Predators have only had 6. So shootouts don't typically happen as much as maybe they did early, but it's incredible what's happening with them. They've also, the Kings have been dealing with trying to figure out who to play in goal. And just the other night, after the Predators beat Darcy Kemper and scored 4 on him, and he looked very shaky early in the game, their coach, DJ Smith, came back and said, it's his net. He's the veteran. He's going in there. He's going to be our guy. He proceeds to then give up 6 to the Maple Leafs. It goes to overtime, and William Nylander of the Maple Leafs had a breakaway that would have won it, could have won it. He kind of fanned on the shot. Kemper outlets, and Quentin Byfield scores. So they are going back to Anton Forsberg, no relation to Philip Forsberg, but Anton Forsberg has been basically a career backup, but he's been playing better than Kemper, and so he's going to get he's going to get the start tonight against the Preds.
John on our text line says you can't spell Florida without Arlo. I mean, that is true.
Oh, man.
That is true. I'm not sure my son is actually a Florida man in training, but we'll see. Golf My Way on the YouTube chat says, like father, like son. Ouch. Ouch.
That hit hard, didn't it?
Yesterday was Easter. Where's your Easter spirit? Let's not be mean to me.
Because of Arlo.
Yes, because of my son. But that's okay. He's got a little piss and vinegar in him, and that's okay. And that's okay. We did see something. Speaking of Easter, we did see something in the NHL yesterday that was quite shocking, I guess you could say. Willie, yet another coach fired by a team in a playoff spot. The New York Islanders fired Patrick Waugh and hired Pete DeBoer. The Islanders have 4 games left. They are in a playoff spot. In the East, well, actually, at the moment, they are not in a playoff spot, but they were when they fired Patrick Waugh. And the Islanders have been struggling. They've lost 7 of 10, 4 in a row. But for the second week in a row, second Sunday in a row, Willie, a team in a playoff spot fires its coach with fewer than 10 games left in the season.
I mean, I guess I should say I'm shocked, but after what Vegas did, I'm not totally shocked. And also, just what we know about the personality of Patrick Waugh, he's always been a guy that, his emotions he wears on his sleeve. He is charismatic. So if there's a type of coach that would be in this position, it might be Patrick Waugh, right? And so they go in with Pete DeBoer, who has been on standby, I think, the whole year. And there were some people that thought that Vegas would turn to him. So the Islanders make the move, and maybe they got to jump on everybody else. That DeBoer will just be their guy next year. That'll be interesting because as much as the Islanders, or you could say they're in the playoffs, but they've been reeling right now, and there's so much push for that last spot. They have got to get it together, or they are not going to make the playoffs. So this is a lot of pressure on DeBoer, I would say, right off the bat.
One texter says, maybe it was a typo. Your wife meant to say he's being Arlo, not an a-hole. No, I can show you the text. It was clearly not autocorrect.
It wasn't like a team.
No.
Like Dash. It was Arlo. You just,
yes.
I mean, it was, you know what?
Yes.
And she was not just misspelling Sebastian Aho.
Exactly.
Right?
No.
She wasn't trying to say he's being like Sebastian Aho.
My wife has no idea who that is. So she absolutely wasn't saying he was being Sebastian Aho, but similar, I guess you could say. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. We'll take your thoughts on the Predators, who have yet another big game tonight at LA, 9:30 p.m. Central, puck drop here on 1025. The game, playoff odds will swing massively depending on the outcome of this game. 615-737-1025. But coming up next, as I was watching the game on Saturday, something occurred to me about one Predators player in particular, and I want to share my theory coming up next. 615-737-1025. Tee it up with us at the 5th Annual 615 Open, May 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are once again supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. Register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com.
Hey, stop letting those high interest debts weigh you down. Pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. It's a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home's equity with no appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. I've been telling you about these guys for years, and they have been helping their clients over and over and over. They are A-plus rated by the BBB with nearly 2,800 five-star Google reviews, so let them help you. They can get you in a better financial situation with some of these interest rates that are out there, especially the credit card bills. They can have those payments just balloon on you, and this is a better way to use your money. Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan uses AI-driven tech to get you approved for cash out in as little as 1 day with a rate that's around a 3-year low. Just give them a call, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
was tonight? Just talk about just the emotions for you tonight, not just playing against Nashville, but just a big game like this, important game like this.
Yeah, it was a big game for our team. We didn't play well in the first period, and second and third we played better.
How do you see your game tonight?
Next question.
That was Yaroslav Askarov, former Predators goaltender, now starting or playing for the San Jose Sharks. He had a rough one against his old club on Saturday night, allowed 5 goals, including 3 on the first 9 shots against, as the Predators win 6-3 against the Sharks as they look to make the playoffs. I'll get to my theory in just a moment, but first let's go to our phone line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Michigan in the borough. Michigan, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, guys. It's a beautiful day. I'm very excited to tell all of you guys I went up from quarter season tickets to half season tickets next year. There you go. That's how much this franchise has broken my brain in the last 6 weeks. Is I'm actually going up in season tickets as other people are complaining about going down. But question I want to ask you guys, kind of a nuanced question here. And I'm going to skip a little bit of Predators, but it does affect the Predators. Since you guys love hockey as much as I do. Are any of you tracking this very, very interesting story going on with the OHL and Cato O'Rourke? And what are your opinions on it, if so? And just for a little background for anybody who's not aware, a lot of really good OHL players have gone to the NCAAs the last handful of years. Jack Hughes was one, Owen Power was another. And Cato O'Rourke, who I think would be playing at 15 in the OHL if he gets the exemplary player status awarded to him, would be a guy who would otherwise probably go to an NCAA institution and is going to play in the OHL instead. And I wonder if you guys think that might have an interesting impact on draft strategy, whoever the next GM of the Predators is. I hope it's Scott White from Dallas. Anytime you can pick off the Jim Nill tree, I'm very, very interested in that fruit. But I'm going to be watching the game like everybody else tonight. Good luck, Willie. Hope it's a great game. And I'll see you guys rest of this week.
Thank you, Michigan. An interesting question, and I will be honest, I have not been following that story closely, so I don't want to pretend that I have and give you an uneducated answer. Willie, do you have any response to Michigan's question?
Yeah, for his question, I think what you're seeing now is because of NIL and the opportunities that are out there for the best Canadian junior players to make money at an earlier age, everybody's kind of going that way. So what the nation of Canada, who, hockey is sacred to, what they have tried to do is preserve their system as best they can and keep the best players who are that age, 15 through 18, or it could be as high as 20, right, playing in the juniors. But they're getting picked off because now they can go, and the rules are such that they can get an agent, they can go in and play for Michigan State or Wisconsin or one of the Boston teams. There's more and more programs that are ready to pay for top level players. So what that's doing is, that's leaving that Canadian Junior League a little bit dry of top prospects. And so younger players like this kid that Michigan was talking about, he's a special talent. He's only 15. I don't think you can get drafted until you're age eligible. Everybody's age eligible around age 18. Some are maybe still 17 when the draft happens. Depends on when your birthday is. But it's just getting him to that level higher earlier than he normally would be. And you have to kind of get a special permission to do that, which I think is going to happen in this case. But it's interesting how the whole system is changing. For example, how it affects the Predators. Next year, the rule might be as such is they could have Brady Martin, their number 1 prospect, the 5th pick in the draft last summer. They could have him play in Milwaukee, whereas before the rules were very strict, as you had to either play in the NHL or if you had played in the Canadian junior system, you had to stay there. You could not go to the minor leagues in between. But that might change. People think it's going to change, which I think will speed up Brady Martin's development.
Let's go to CJ in Hendersonville on our phone line. CJ, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, fellas, good stuff as always. Definitely interested in the hockey game tonight. I do got a quick question, Willie. Everyone's thoughts on this. Why? And tell me, there's an old saying there's something about that old boy I don't like about myself, but why? What is it? If you guys could help me out deeply, why do I hate Dan Hurley so much?
Thank you for the call, CJ. I mean, how much time do you have? We will get to the NCAA men's basketball championship game tonight, UConn versus Michigan. I mean,
oh man,
isn't it self-explanatory? But
yeah,
thank you for the call, CJ. We will get to that later in the program. But I do want to get to my theory. So coming back from break, we played that clip from Yaroslav Askarov after he allowed 5 goals against his former team Saturday night. And when I saw that Askarov and UC Saros were going head-to-head for the first time since Askarov went to San Jose almost 2 years ago, I knew that Saturday's game would act as a referendum on the deal, especially if Askarov outdueled Saros, which did not happen. But that got me thinking about something that I've been thinking about for a little while. And I want y'all's opinion on it. Willie and Derek, but also all of you. 615-737-1025. Here's my theory. UC Saros has a perception problem. The perception is that he is incapable of carrying the team. And when you are considered one of the top goaltenders in the NHL, there is an expectation that you will level up when the games matter most. UC Saros has had a solid season for the Predators. There is hard data that supports that. The guy has won, by the way, 7 of his past 10 starts in high-pressure situations. But when the Predators blow multiple 3-goal leads, as they have in their past 2 games, Saros bears the brunt of that, even if it was not entirely his fault. It does not help his case that he gave up 2 bad rebounds that led to goals against in the Kings game, but that's what stands out to a lot of people, more so than Saros' performance in the shootout that helped the Predators win that Kings game. Remember, Kings skaters went 0 for 8 against UC Saros in that shootout late last week. So the Predators have 6 games left. Willie, I would not be surprised if Saros starts 5 of them, maybe 4, but it would not surprise me if he starts 5 of them. There's only 1 back-to-back left today and tomorrow. And I hope that Saros has some outstanding performances down the stretch. Because if the Predators miss the playoffs, after all the work they have done to get here, you know that is going to only fuel the narrative that Saros isn't worth the contract he signed. So that's my theory, Willie. UC Saros, through no fault of his own necessarily, has a perception problem. Your thoughts?
He's winning. He's 6-1-1 in his last 8 starts.
But you know this exists. You know this exists.
Right, but it's like he wins the game against Askarov, who now he prefers to be called Askarov.
Oh, I'm sorry.
By the way. And I do
get his name right.
I know it's weird. He went to San Jose and he said, "Yeah, call me Askarov." Where after we were with him for 3 years in Milwaukee, and we went over it, how you say it really in Russian, which is Askarov. But that's neither here nor there. And I will say, for him to go out and take the questions like he did after that game, that was the biggest game they'd played, the Sharks, in 6 years, right? And that was a hostile environment. And the Predators won. Askarov did not play very well. I give him a lot of credit for, as a Russian young goalie, to go out there and take the questions in English. I'm sure he had a lot to say, but he doesn't know that much of how to, go into depth and detail. So I still think he's got a chance to be really good in the future, but he's nowhere near. And that kind of gets me to what we're asking here. If you're still thinking that's a bad contract for UC Saros, look at where the contracts have gone. He's not overpaid at all. And the alternative is, for those that still subscribe to this theory, is you'd rather have Askarov as your guy right now, who clearly has shown that he's not ready to carry a team or anything close to it. So I don't really get it. I mean, UC Soros is the goalie, and we just got done talking about the Kings and their dilemma right now. They haven't had a save all year long, right? Their defensive metrics are outstanding, but their goalies haven't done well enough to really take advantage of that. The same thing is happening in Vegas, which is why they fired their coach, and really no other reason. So it's hard to be a goalie these days. So we're still stuck on the same narrative, but I think the narrative, it's evolving, right? The Predators aren't a great defensive team. They're not a great team in general. But I still think UC Soros is an excellent goalie. He's not having a career year or anything close to it. But I think he's still a heck of a lot better choice than a lot of the other options out there.
Let's go back to the Olympics for a moment. I think we would all agree. UC Soros had a strong showing at the Olympics for Finland. Yes?
Yes.
Overall, he had a strong showing for Finland. What do people remember most about Finland in relation to UC Soros during the Olympics? The upset loss to Slovakia to open the tournament, and the fact that Finland could not hold a multi-goal lead against Canada. Again, I am not blaming UC Soros.
That's not what I remember the most.
But
I get it. But
Willie, I say this as lovingly. Willie, I say
you're admitting that everybody's going to jump to the one negative when you start off by saying he had a really good tournament. But you know what I mean? Like we're only focusing on the times where he doesn't get it done. That's life of a goalie. A goalie doesn't get it done every time.
I understand that. And I say this as lovingly as I can, Willie. You are the biggest Soros fanboy I know. And I know that extends beyond the ice for good reason. But I know that when I think about people who defend UC Soros as staunchly as anybody else, you are the first person on that list. This is not me criticizing UC Soros. This is me saying I believe he has a perception problem. There are a lot of fans in this city who do not think that UC Soros can win games when it matters. I'm not telling you that's how I feel. I am saying that is something that I have noticed, which is why I'm saying I think it's incredibly.
But you seem to be endorsing that.
No, how am I endorsing that?
You should be challenging that and not endorsing it.
But how am I endorsing it?
Because you understand the game better than some people that make this point. And I get it. He has not played as well as he has played in his career, but he's still playing at a level that's way better than I would say most of the goalies in the league. We in perspective, the save percentage around the league is way down. And so it's very difficult to play goalie in the league. And he's also not ever been on a loaded team. Chris Mason always makes the point, if he were playing goalie for Minnesota or Colorado or a team that's got a loaded roster, his numbers would be way better. And I don't think he would have this perception. He has not been a goalie on a powerful Predators team. Would you agree?
I would agree with that. Yes. I to be clear, I am not endorsing this theory that he can't win big games. I am telling you that he can play well, but if he doesn't win while also playing well, people begin to think he can't win big games. That is the perception problem. I am not endorsing
perception because they have been in the big games. Finland versus Canada, right?
Yes.
Who's the underdog?
Finland.
A huge underdog.
Absolutely.
Predators versus Carolina Hurricanes in the playoffs a few years ago. Who's the underdog?
The only series to save
a huge underdog.
To save you time, the only playoff series that UC Soros has played in where the Predators were not the underdog was the qualifying round series against the Coyotes during the COVID year. That's the only series the Predators played where they were not the underdog. Just to save you time.
Right. And at that point, that was a very unique situation where nobody had played in however many months that was, 2-3 months. And you still had this, is it Pekka Rinne or is it UC Soros? Soros had started to take the starting job away from Rinne, but that was still very much a big part of that equation. So that's a long time ago if you're looking at that.
615-737-1025. We will get back to this. 615-737-1025. My theory, UC Saros has a perception problem. And I think it's incredibly important for him to play well down the stretch and get the Predators into the playoffs to erase, or at least begin to erase, that perception problem. 615-737-1025. But coming up next, Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, will join us. We'll get into the Titans as the NFL draft approaches. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. Tee it up with us at the 5th annual 6-1. I already read that. Never mind. I'm going to read it again. Tee it up with us at the 5th annual 615 Open, May 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are once again supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. Register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. I promise I won't read the same read twice as I've already had. But now you know about the 615 Open. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Teron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation, Titans reporter. Hi, TD. How are you?
Hey, what's going on? How you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thank you for joining us as always. So as the NFL draft approaches and we talk about all of the prospects who could go to the Titans at number 4, I want to ask you about Carnell Tate specifically. We know that Ohio State is a wide receiver factory. And I know that you put in the time, you grind the film. How does Carnell Tate compare to other top wide receiver prospects from Ohio State in recent years?
Yeah, I mean, I think he ranks below the guys that come out. You know, as prospects, he ranks below them, but that doesn't mean he's not a good player. And you look at the guy, I mean, you're talking about Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba. There's so many, Marvin Harrison Jr. You could go on and on. Emeka, I always do that. I always do that. Emeka Okafor, Abuka. Yeah, I always just, I'm thinking back to the UConn center. But anyhow, like all those guys, really good players. And to say that he's not right there with them is not saying he's a bad player. He's a complete guy. I love the way he's able to get vertical. He runs his routes well. He catches the slant well. He has nice size. 4.5 is still fast. I don't care what, people act like that's not a fast time. He's decent. He's solid enough to get down the field. Now, is he someone I would take top 5? No, but that doesn't mean he's not a good receiver.
Big news in the NFL today, Tehran. Giants defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has reportedly asked for a trade from the Giants. And now, because of the connection with Brian Daboll and all of the players that the Titans brought in who had some connection to Brian Daboll, do you anticipate the Titans having any interest whatsoever in at least exploring a trade for Dexter Lawrence?
No, I don't think it's likely. I think when you look at that scheme, it's not really meant for a guy like, as much of a guy like Dexter Lawrence. He's along the lines of Jeffrey Simmons. He's kind of like in between a Simmons and Tavondre Sweat. You know what I mean when you talk about the style of play. So I don't think he would be a automatic fit here. And also, you got to remember, this team, they want to draft and develop, and this is the same team where you have a president of football operations say he wanted to draft 10 guys in the top 3 rounds over the next 3 years. So a trade for Dexter Lawrence wouldn't really be in line with the overall vision.
Now, Teron, with that being said, what are the likelihoods you believe? Because as we start to get closer and closer to the draft, and you spoke with Salah and Borgonzi, and it made it seem like they just want the best player. Now, as we continue to go and get closer to the draft, how likely do you think it is that they trade out of that 4th spot?
I think it's very unlikely, unless there's some type of wild offer, Godfather offer they can't refuse. But you kind of led into something that I wanted to talk about, because I want to get this name in the mix for that number 4 pick. And it's not one that people are really talking about, but I'll be writing about it soon. And that's Sonny Styles. And I think when you look at Robert Saleh, one of the things he told us out there in Phoenix was about the Mike linebacker and how they're required, hash to hash, right? They got to carry those routes. And you look at, what teams like to do. They like to run those crossers and things like that. You need a linebacker that could not only move with those guys running those crossing routes, but have the ability, the length to impact those routes that are behind it. Because as you know, it's always layered. And when you have a 6'4" guy with a 40-inch vertical, it makes it a lot harder to get the ball to that 20-yard in-breaker, that's behind that crossing route that they like to do to try to, high-low defenders.
Now, TD, I think it was either Borgonzi, it may have been Borgonzi that said, hey, it could be, there is a high possibility, or in theory, they could go with 2 rookies on the offensive line. And with that being said, do you see them going heavy? Do you think he was more so talking young offensive linemen, because they do have some offensive linemen on their roster that are going into their 2nd year, but do you think they can go heavy offensive line after the 1st and possibly the 2nd round?
Yeah, absolutely. I would be surprised if they don't, honestly. One of the things that Borgonzi said was he feels that there are guys who are, potential starters, late day 2 and into day 3. So it wouldn't surprise me if they stock up there. Look, man, the tackle position isn't guaranteed. Dan Moore Jr., probably another year. J.C. Latham is still developing. And then you look at the guard situation. Obviously, right guard is open, right? And Jackson Slater's there. But, what if he ends up going to center and Austin Slopeman doesn't work out? So there's a lot of questions. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go heavy O-line. And he kind of alluded to it, saying that they're starters at that part of the draft.
Teron Davenport is with us. Teron, let's go back to Sonny Styles for a moment, because it's such a big philosophy, somewhat similar, I guess, to the running back, that the guy has to be super special to be worth getting picked that high just because of the position he plays. You did a great job of sort of outlining why he would fit so well. But just from a talent standpoint, Styles does feel like he's got that ability, right? He's a needle mover.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's a needle mover. He has NFL bloodlines too, by the way. You know, his father played in the league, and then you look, I believe it was for the Falcons. Then also you see his brother, you know, is an NFL prospect as well. I think you just look at the tape. Most of the time, number 0 was first to the football, right? And you look, the amount of missed tackles he has is the same number as the number on his jersey, 0. And this is a guy that you could not only use in the pass game against the run, but you could also use him rushing the passer because he has that length. I mean, he's 6'4", you know, 230, right in that range, and he runs. He's strong. He has the demeanor, everything about him. And, you know, as I sat and thought about it more and more, when Mike Borgonzi was saying best player available regardless of position, at that point, when he said it, I went right to running back because of Jeremiah Love mix. But I think that applies to linebacker here too. So, and that's why I say, you know, put Sonny Styles in the mix.
What do you think that Cody Barton and Cedric Gray, who basically play that position right now, especially Gray, I want to hear your opinion on him, because I know we're all pretty excited about what he does. I mean, he got a lot of tackles. Like, he was productive. He was noticeable last year. How does he fit in this new system?
Yeah, I think he's more of a Sam, and you move Barton to Will, and, you know, you got Sonny Styles at Mike, and he's on the field all the time. And then you'll have, you know, either Barton or Gray come off when they go to sub package, and that's the way I see that thing working. But, I mean, look, you know, Cedric Gray is an awesome player, you know, when it comes to what he was asked to do last year, you know, but I think in this scheme, the coverage aspect is where there's a shortcoming, and that's why a guy like Sonny Styles comes into the mix.
Okay, so if you take away the position need and all of that, if you're just rating Styles versus Jeremiah Love, if you put a grade on either one, which one would you grade higher?
I don't know, man.
In the whole best player available, right? You see what I'm asking?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're asking. That's a tough one, man, because, you know, Styles is an outlier physically. Like, you look at what he brings. I might have to say Styles, man, at 6'4", 235, wherever he is, the 40-inch vertical, the 4.47, the demeanor, the bloodline. I might have to say Styles.
Teron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation Titans reporter, has been our guest on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Monday. TD, as always, fantastic stuff. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. I appreciate it. And, hey, man, even though Juan Soto is on that injured list, it's still go Mets. I'll be up there on Friday to see him.
All right. This is your first time? You're still a season ticket holder, I take it.
Yeah. This will be my second game. I went to the home opener.
Oh, nice. See, Teron gets things done. He finds a way to get up there.
Willie, you just missed your Mets in San Francisco.
I know.
You leave the Bay Area, they show up.
No, well, I could have gone. I'm mad at myself, but I had a very special family that happened to be in town, and their daughter goes to Santa Clara, so they had a big 21st birthday party for her, a family that it's like family to our family. Our kids grew up together and all that stuff. So I chose them over the Mets. I still, part of me wanted to be out there, though. And they did well. Hey, 3 out of 4, Teron.
Teron hung up, unfortunately.
How could you let Teron go? We're talking Mets.
Teron was like, damn
3
this.
hours of the show.
I had nothing to do with it.
I thought y'all were done.
Okay, that's fine. If you would have
cut him off.
If you would have gone to the game,
Separate
you would have
those two, or else we'll be talking Mets all day.
If you would have gone to the game, you would have seen Tony Vitello's first MLB ejection.
Oh, you missed it.
He did have a point.
I saw the video.
He did have a point.
Well, but that's the way that's the rule. Rule's the rule.
I know, but I think he had a point, and he got tossed, and I thought.
It's a dumb rule. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Need to
I've
text
never
him and let him
understood
know
that
that,
rule.
Willie.
I've never understood
It's
that
the
rule
it was
in
the
Major League
it was the
Baseball.
base path rule or something, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there's a lane that's not a lane that anybody runs. Like if you're a right-handed batter and you're running to first base, the most direct line doesn't take you through the baseline, right? The pathway that they have with the white lines. And if you run the most direct route to first, you're going to be on the inside of that. You're going to be in fair territory, which creates every now and then a play that comes up with. And the umpire in the rules can call the guy out. I've never understood it. It's easier for a left-handed batter, so I never really had to worry about it because you're coming out of the left-handed batter's box. You're going to run through the base path. You're going to run down that lane. But a right-handed hitter always has to cut across, and that's going to slow you down. So why would you do that? It's just a dumb rule that's been in baseball for over 100 years.
615-737-1025. All right. It appears to me that I may I want to get back to the Saros thing for a moment.
Did you
coming
stir
up
something
next.
up?
Well, I was admittedly surprised by Willie's reaction to what I said.
Okay.
There's somebody in the text line saying something similar. So I feel like we need to hash this out.
Oh, okay.
And we will do that coming up next. 615-737-1025. I am not going to read the same read 3 times. Join 1025 The Game and catch the biggest golf tournament of the year at 5 Iron Golf, located at 202 21st Ave South in Nashville. We will be broadcasting live all day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Thursday and Friday. Stop in and enjoy great food, golf prizes, and more with fellow fans from start to finish. Don't miss it, only at 5 Iron Golf. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, and David Janes here with you. We will get to the NFL draft in just a moment because during my weekend,
riled up,
during my weekend home alone, I had a lot of time to listen to things. As a Jew on Easter, there really isn't much for you to do. So I had a lot of time to listen to stuff. And I found a really interesting conversation about the Titans and the NFL draft that we will get to in just a few moments. But I do want to go back to what we talked about before Teron Davenport joined the program. As I was watching the Predators game on Saturday, and you had Yaroslav Askarov.
Get it right.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't pay attention to what he calls himself.
It's messed up. It's messed up. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, Adam.
I remember
we had to adjust all of us
on the broadcast, of course. Yes.
Yeah, we said it right, which is wrong a couple of times, and we had to say we just have to keep saying it wrong.
Okay. Well, Yaroslav Askarov, as I was watching the game between him and the Sharks and UC Saros and the Predators, which the Predators won 6-3 on Saturday night at the Shark Tank. As I was watching that game, I started thinking about Saros specifically. And what I presented earlier in the show is I believe that UC Saros has a perception problem. This was my theory, that there are a lot of fans in this city who love the Predators who are lukewarm on UC Saros. I remember our friend Adam from Portland called in a couple of weeks ago. And Adam, if you're listening and I misinterpret what you said, you can call and fix it for me. Adam said, I'm pulling for the Preds. I still don't like Saros. And I do think there are fans out there who feel the way that Adam does. This was my overall point. I think it would be incredibly beneficial for UC Saros to level up and play outstanding down the stretch over the next 2 weeks and get the Predators into the playoffs, because I think that may help with this perception problem. I don't think, as Willie said, and this is what sort of caught me off guard, but then we received a text to the similar effect. By bringing up the perception problem I think he has is not me endorsing that perception. I'm in tune with this fan base. I know how y'all think. And I know there are plenty of you who don't think UC Saros can win big games. That's why I brought up the Olympics, for example. UC Saros was outstanding in the game for Finland against Canada. Outstanding. He gave them every chance to win, but he didn't win. And people aren't going to remember that he played spectacularly and lost. People are going to remember that he lost. That's my point. I think that he can really help himself by looking like the UC Saros in the back half of the 56-game season, where he dragged the Predators into the playoffs single-handedly, and I believe received MVP votes for it. That's my point. Maybe I missed something. I don't think I endorsed the perception by bringing up the perception problem, but maybe I'm wrong. You tell me, Willie.
Okay, well, this is, I got two things. Number one, now we're moving the goalposts on what's a big game. You've already established that there have been 2 or 3 seasons, definitely 2. I would argue the third, which was the season that got paused at the bubble, where he was starting to be the main starter, and he was elevating them towards the playoffs. And the season stopped. They would have been in the playoffs. And then they changed the rules and put more teams in that postseason. We know what happened there. Then 2021, and then the following season, 21-22, he was the only reason they made the playoffs. So when you say he can't win the big game, he won a lot of big games.
Adam Scott Vigen. I'm not saying that.
He can't win the big game, right? Isn't that what people are saying? He can't win the big game.
Correct. That's not me saying it.
But now we're talking about regular season games. He's got to win the big games here. He's already done that. He's already elevated. Would you agree that he has elevated them into the playoffs almost single-handedly more than once? True?
Let's see. In 2021, for sure. He has certainly helped this season.
2022 for sure.
Yes, 2022 for sure. That or 2021, whatever the year they played the Hurricanes in the playoffs. I can't remember.
Right. And then the following year when he was injured right before, and had he not gotten injured, by the way, they would have played the Flames in the first round and not the Avalanche.
Understood.
But they had to play the Avalanche without him. But he won tons of big games to get them to that point. True?
Yes.
Okay. So he's already won big games. But now we're saying he's got to get them into the playoffs by winning big games. He's already done that. But there's a whole other group of people that say until he wins in the playoffs, he hasn't won any big games. So which is it?
I think it started with the playoffs. Him not winning the games in the playoff. That's where it originally started, because before then, during the regular season, I mean, he was able to carry the team at certain points. So then it became, and this was as frequent as last year. Well, he hasn't won in the playoffs. He hasn't won games in the playoffs. So they keep on moving the goalpost. The goalpost is going to be forever moved. Once it's the playoffs, and now he can't win big games during the regular season, even though he has shown that he can win games. He should stick with until he proves, which would be fair, until you prove that you can win a series, that they can win a series with you. Then that's when the narrative changed. And that's across sports, period.
Yes,
but now people are trying to take it into the regular season where, no, he's proven in the regular season he can do that.
I think that is fair. That until you win in the playoffs, you're going to have that label whether you like it or not, whether it's fair or not.
Mm-hmm.
But brings me to the second part. Mm-hmm. For all the fans that still have this thorn in their side on him and are nitpicking at everything, and I would grant you, this season, for the most part, as for the season as a whole, he has not carried them on his back like he has in the past. And I would argue that it's harder to do that for a goalie now than it ever has. Just the way the sport is going, the way the save percentages are calculated, the offenses, it's hard to dominate just with your goalie. It's more difficult now than it was even 5 years ago. But set that aside. Who would you rather them have? You want Askarov to be your goalie now?
Are you asking me specifically or generally?
Well, okay, you can answer for yourself, but also what to the people that aren't satisfied with Saros, what would you have had them do? You still want to go back and have Askarov as your guy? I was saying for years leading up to it, he's not ready. He's not ready. Here we are 2 years later. He's not ready. If you watch the game Saturday, you would agree, right? Those were not good goals.
No, he did not look good on Saturday.
He wasn't good, and he hasn't been good in a while. He had a really hot stretch for about 15 games early in the year. He has really dropped off since then, which is normal for a guy at 24. When UC Saros was 24, he was, for a second straight year, an outstanding backup for Pekka Rinne, doing tremendously well in the role that he should have been in. I would argue that Askarov could have been that guy for Saros had he not gotten impatient, pushed the envelope, and asked to be traded. But we know what happened, right? But for all of you that want to dump on UC Saros, he's not worth the contract, which he gave them a sweetheart deal. He makes $7.7 million. He's what, 9th or 10th highest paid goalie? So I don't know what the beef is, really. What would you rather have them do? Let Saros walk? Have Askarov be the goalie? Who do you want to be the goalie?
Here are two differing opinions on this topic. Caleb says, the only question you use when people say Saros sucks and can't win in the playoffs is which playoff series where Saros was the starter did the Predators have the better roster? Then we've got another texter, John, who says he hasn't won a playoff series. That's the end of the discussion for a non-elite, trustworthy goaltender. But this is what
So then my follow-up question to people who subscribe to that second opinion is who should they have being the goalie right now?
Okay, well,
Askarov?
The texter can reply if he wants. 615-737-1025. Let's go to Mark.
I'm asking, do you want Askarov? Bad dad joke.
Well, it's okay. That's all right. Let's go to Mark in Ashland City on our phone line. Mark, thank you for calling. Go to bed. Oh, go ahead. Not go to bed. You could. Now that's
go to bed.
That's a dad joke. That's a dad joke. You can go to bed if you want, Mark, but go ahead, please.
So I was calling in just because I think it's not a UC Saros problem. I think it's a Pecorine problem. UC Saros is the guy that followed Pecorine, and he was known for winning those playoff series where the Predators didn't necessarily have the better roster. And that's not UC Saros' fault at all. I think he's great. I love him. I hope he's here for the rest of his contract. But unfortunately, he's the guy that followed the guy. And that's, this standard in the fan base is what comes with that. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mark. That is a very good point. Pecorine, I mean, the guy has a statue outside the arena for what he did for this organization. I completely understand that. Pecorine made a name for himself in this league by playing outstanding hockey in the playoffs and making the Predators more competitive than they probably should have been. So that I am not being accused of leaving out the facts, here's how UC Saros has played since the Olympic break. 7-3-2 with a 2.95 goals against average, a 901 save percentage. He has saved nearly 11 goals above expected, and he has made 9 quality starts in 12 tries. So that's 75%. But there are still people out there who do not see that as good enough. And here's part of it too, Willie. One of the stats we like to bring up, I know you bring it up on the broadcast, we talk about it all the time. Goaltending steals, right? UC Saros, I believe, is second in the NHL in goaltending steals. The easy way to define that, UC Saros, I believe the number is 12 or 13. He has had a direct hand in 12 or 13 of the Predators' wins this season. He has saved more goals than expected that in those 12 or 13 games that made the difference in the game. So by that definition, UC Saros has really carried the load for the Predators. But here's the thing, Willie.
Recently he has, for sure. But his season as a whole,
yes,
I still would not rank it among his best seasons as a Predator. I'll grant you that. But I still would ask the fans who are being critical, look at it relative to the league, look at all the other teams that are having goalie problems, and then ask. Then I continue to ask, what are you wanting them? Do you think what do we think would have happened if they'd have said, "Yep, let's trade UC Saros and have Askarov be the goalie"? What do you think would have been different? I just don't think that the results would be as good.
Here's where I was going with that. When people think of a goaltending steal, a goaltender standing on his head and winning a game for a team, a lot of people's minds go to what you saw Connor Hellebuck do in the gold medal game for Team USA versus Canada. Team USA would not have won gold if not for Connor Hellebuck. UC Saros has had a solid season overall, I would say. I would agree with you, Willie. It's been up and down, but overall, I would say it's solid. I think he's played his best hockey down the stretch. But people, when they think about the value of a goaltender and a goaltender leveling up, they think of what Hellebuck did in the Olympics. And I think, again, that plays into the perception problem. So my whole point was this. I think it would help that perception problem, help it go away a little bit, if UC Saros continues to play the way he's been playing, maybe even a little bit better, and wills the Predators into the playoffs. I mean, I saw a stat today that the Predators could become, I believe, the third team in the wild card era to make the playoffs after trailing the final spot by at least 11 points. It's a great story, objectively. And if UC Saros can help the Predators cross the finish line, I think that would help. But this is what I'm saying, Willie. If the Predators miss the playoffs, if the Predators struggle down the stretch, the day that we come in the studio the following day at 3 o'clock and we're talking about the Predators missing the playoffs, who's going to get a lot of the blame?
Well, that's just part of playing goalie.
Understood, but that's my point. That's part of my point. Even if it's not his fault that they missed the playoffs, people are going to blame him for them missing the playoffs.
Right, and we will hash that out, I'm sure, accordingly. He can't win the big game bothers me because what is a big game? These last two games have been big games. Those are big, and they only get bigger from here.
Right, but
so tonight's big as well.
My point earlier was within that game. Let's go back to the Kings game on Thursday. Within that game, the Predators blew leads of 3-0 and 4-1. And Saros gave up 2 bad rebounds that led to goals against for the Kings. The Lawton goal and the Armia goal were because of bad rebounds by UC Saros. He recovered. The game went to overtime. He stopped 8 skaters in the shootout. The Predators win. But there are some fans who will probably say it should have never been in that spot. They were up 3-0 and 4-1. And the blame goes on the goalie.
They were down 2-0 in how many games? They weren't supposed to win those games, but they came back and won. This is how hockey happens sometimes. And I grant you, that was not a great game by Saros against the Kings. And I would say that, if you're really grading him, he would be graded down on those 2 goals. He also made a lot of really good saves in that game as well. But by and large, I mean, this is going to happen in some games. You're not going to be lights out every night. Like if we're comparing him to Hellebuck in the Olympics, like that's one of the greatest performances in hockey history in any level.
Definitely.
And Saros, I think, he's capable of that, and I'm hoping, that he is able to do that in these last handful of starts that he gets. But he got it done. They won the game.
615-737-1025. The Predators and UC Saros are back in action tonight in a big game against the LA Kings. Puck drop at 9:30, pregame at 8:30, right here on 1025 The Game. Coming up next, we have been talking about one NFL draft prospect in particular more than any other in the lead up to the NFL draft. And I am wondering, after listening to something over the weekend, if we are exaggerating this prospect's potential impact on the Tennessee Titans. We will discuss that next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
The Cowboys point brings me to the other thing that gets mentioned a lot, which is like, well, you got to help your young quarterback. We are all on this pod Cam Ward fans, Titans fans. Yes. They all really want Jeremiah
way
Love,
high.
I've discovered. When you look back at the young quarterbacks, year 1 or 2, who broke out, and you look at the conditions, every single one of them, I made a list right now, had either a wide receiver 1, like a legit dude, or, and this is what you would say with the 2016 Cowboys, Dak Prescott, an elite offensive line. And very few of them had elite running backs, to be honest. It's wide receiver, offensive line.
That was Mina Kimes on her podcast talking about Jeremiah Love. And as I said, as a Jew on Easter, I didn't really have much to do this weekend. My kids and my wife are out of town. Everything was closed. It was a beautiful day yesterday. Took my dog Pretzel to the dog park, popped in some AirPods, listened to some podcasts. And I came across that podcast, Mina Kimes' podcast, talking about the Titans and Jeremiah Love. And we on this show have wholeheartedly endorsed Jeremiah Love. Well, at least Derek and I have. Willie, he hasn't given Jeremiah Love his full stamp of approval yet. But he's considering it, right, Willie? You're considering
I've been measured. Yeah, I'm measured about it. I think if you've got him clearly as the most talented player when you pick, and you're picking at 4, then I'm fine with that.
Derek is smitten.
But only that way. Only if it's that.
Derek,
like if Sonny Styles that's why I asked Teron the question about Sonny Styles.
And that
Styles
was an interesting point.
More, yeah. If you have him rated higher as an overall prospect, then I think you take him.
So Derek is smitten. He loves himself some love. It's going to take a lot to convince Derek Mason not to love Jeremiah Love. But I hear that from Kimes, and we'll play more from that podcast in just a moment. And I'm wondering, have we been exaggerating Jeremiah Love's potential impact on the Titans? You'll hear it in the clip we play in a little bit. There have been high-end running backs out there drafted high, such as Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson, so on and so forth, who in their first couple of years didn't completely change the fortunes of their respective franchises. Jeremiah Love is an outstanding prospect. He may be the number 1 overall prospect, regardless of position in this draft. We have told you how explosive he is, how versatile he is. I know a lot of you are also smitten with the idea of Jeremiah Love. But after hearing that from Mina Kimes and more of that conversation, which again, we'll play more in just a bit, I'm beginning to wonder, Derek, if we are so starved for an offensive superstar in Tennessee that we are trying to convince ourselves that Jeremiah Love can have an impact on this team that historically running backs around the NFL may not have immediately. So let me ask you that question. Do you think at all that we've been exaggerating Love's potential impact on this team?
I don't think we have. I think the Titans are just in need of a superstar, period. Because, listen, I think Jeff is a superstar, but he's on an older end. He will be segueing out pretty soon. You have Cam Ward, who they hope becomes a superstar. But outside of Jeffrey Simmons, put him in his own category because eventually he will age out. He's not someone that is going to be in that new stadium for 3, 4, 5 years. So what they're starved of is a all-star like a playmaker, a true playmaker. They are starving for one. They haven't had one since A.J. Brown. And before that, Derrick Henry. So, well, it was Derrick Henry, and then before that, A.J. Brown. So it's not that they're starving for this offensive guy. They're starving for a playmaker, period. That's why when the season ended, what was it? Bang. Everybody wanted Bang or the kid out of Texas A&M. because they're super. They seem to be superstars. Now it's Sonny Styles. Why? Because they seem to be guys, superstars in the making, guys that can come in and immediately help the Tennessee Titans. So we're starved for a guy like that, period. But when it comes to the running back, people don't want to be wrong. And I understand that. And history is telling them, at least the last 10, 12 years, probably a little bit longer than that you can't win with just one dominant running back. You got to have this 2 running back sort of system. And that is the only way you win in the NFL. You can't win with a superstar back. But if you have a back that can affect the game in several different ways, yeah, you can win with that back. And we've already seen it. Philadelphia was a lock to win the Super Bowl. When they got Saquon Barkley. They had already had A.J. Brown and they couldn't win it. They had Jalen Hurts. They had Devontae Smith.
But
and
the Eagles,
they had the defense.
The Eagles had a more complete team at the time.
I understand that.
Saquon Barkley was the final piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely, I understand that. But even with the Giants started winning when Saquon Barkley. When they got a healthy Saquon Barkley with a competent quarterback, obviously, he made the quarterback look better, much better. But the Giants chose to keep the quarterback rather than the running back, and we see what happened. So I think the closer and closer we get, people are afraid to say Love can be this guy. Instead of saying they just need an impact player, whether it's Love, whether it's Bain, whether it's Sonny Styles, they need an impact player. So if they just need an impact player, why are people so quickly to kind of skirt away from Jeremiah Love? He is an impact player. Anybody you draft that high, you want to be an impact player. And if they're not that impact player, what happens? People say, oh, he was a bust. Y'all should have picked somebody else. We saw it with Corey Davis. He wasn't an impact player. We thought he was going to be. People say, well, you don't advance unless you have a A1 wide receiver, where they drafted one that high. And what happened? It ended up not working out the way they thought it was.
So here's a stat, Willie, from The Athletic. Since 2010, 9 running backs have been drafted in the top 10. 7 of those 9 teams had losing records in the ensuing 4 years. We'll exclude Ashton Genty because he's played 1 season, and the Raiders went 3-14. Bijan Robinson, since joining the Falcons, they are 23-28. In Saquon Barkley's first 4 years with the New York Giants, they were 19-46. Leonard Fournette with the Jaguars, 22-42. Christian McCaffrey with the Panthers, 28-36. You have to go all the way to Ezekiel Elliott in 2016. The Cowboys went 38-24 over Elliott's first 4 seasons with the team.
But context is very important.
All right, so add the context. Add the context.
What was the first running back? I'm going to give you the context. What was the first running back?
If we're excluding Genty.
Yeah, it's excluding even Genty.
Okay, you want to mention?
Yeah.
The Raiders went 3-14 last season.
Did they have a quarterback? Okay, go to the next one. Go to the next one.
Bijan Robinson.
Did he have a quarterback? No, let's go to the next one.
Saquon Barkley.
No, he didn't have a quarterback.
I mean, Daniel Jones had what? No. 1 good year?
With Saquon Barkley, absolutely
okay.
Right. So go to the next one.
Leonard Fournette.
Who was his quarterback?
I believe it was Bortles. Right?
Yeah, they went to the playoffs.
It would have been Bortles.
They went to the AFC Championship game. It may have been Bortles. Yeah.
That was pre-Lawrence. That was pre-Lawrence.
Pre-Lawrence, but it was Bortles. They went, and Bortles really wasn't that good.
No, Bortles. No.
Yeah, but they did go to the AFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's context to this, and people. And I'm not saying you did it,
and
but people lives out. People leave. McCaffrey was a already injured, older Cam Ward. Not Cam Ward. But
you're thinking of Cam Newton.
Cam Newton.
Yes, McCaffrey came in, I believe,
Cam
at the
Newton
tail
was
end
at the end of his
exactly,
run.
absolutely.
By the time McCaffrey came
when
in.
people mention these things, they don't mention that other component, the quarterback. They never mention that. They just say you can't take. No. Give me the whole story. Don't just give me half of the story. Give me did they have a quarterback? No. Okay, then that's where we need to stop. Saquon showed you that if he had a quarterback, somebody that was competent and controlled things, he can win a Super Bowl for you. And he did it. So it can be done. Atlanta's still looking for their quarterback, aren't they? Absolutely.
Yep. Penix. We'll see.
49ers just run into this injury thing all the time.
It's the substation.
Yeah, it's a substation. so when you talk about these running backs, I think it's not fair to not mention, who was underneath center for those running backs. You go back to Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel had Tony Romo, I believe.
Or was that Dak?
Or was that Dak?
I think that was Dak coming in too.
Yeah, it was
Dak,
Dak. He
remember,
played with
came
Tony,
in.
but I think he played with Dak too.
Prescott's first season was 2016. Ezekiel Elliott was drafted in 2016.
So they both came in at the same time.
They came in at the same time.
But he didn't start. Dak didn't start off the starter, did he?
In 2016,
I
he
think he
started
did.
16 games.
Oh, he started all. Oh, yeah, he started.
Remember,
all
he was
16.
unexpectedly good because he wasn't a first-round pick. So they
Exactly.
was Elliott their first-round pick, and then they got Prescott in the 4th round or 3rd round, whenever they got him.
Yes, they were drafted in the same year.
Which means they had to
2016.
they leaned heavy on who? The running back.
Yeah,
The Titans are in the
that was an
same
unlikely way
situation.
to
Exactly.
build a winner.
Exactly. The Titans are in the same situation. They got a young quarterback who they believe is promising, but they need to be able to lean on something as he develops. I understand leaning on the defense, but again, because I've been a part of it, defenses, after a while, it's a war of attrition. And if they get hurt, and if you don't have somebody on the offensive side of the ball that can carry the weight too, you're going to end up losing, especially as your young quarterback is developing, as Cam Ward is. So that's what I lean back on. Listen, drafting Jeremiah Love doesn't hurt your team at all. It makes you better. That's what I land on. He makes you a better ball club, just like Sonny Styles would, just like Bain would, just like the kid out of Texas A&M would.
But Willie,
Okay, let me play the other side just a little bit. I'm not disagreeing with you. If and this comes back to the same thing every time, is Love exceptional and way better than what you would have otherwise at that position, where the perception, right or wrong, around the league is that you can go cheap on running backs and get a decent amount of production. Teams have done it that way. You look at the Super Bowl winners; they've done it that way very often, and it's not a name that's going to make the Hall of Fame or anything to it. Isaiah Pacheco and guys like that. So, if Love is exceptional, then I buy into your theory 100%. But if they feel like, let's just take Sonny Styles, because we've been talking about him today. If he's exceptional, then he is changing the defense. You get him and you get Pollard and whatever formula you have. And what's the net result of that? Or a dynamic edge rusher and whatever you can come up with running back. So I think that's part of the reason why what I read into some of those numbers, Adam, is a lot of times those teams aren't very good. They draft the running back, and he's good, but he's not enough to carry the rest of a bad roster, especially, as Derek points out, if you don't have the quarterback.
615-737-1025. Have we been exaggerating Jeremiah Love's potential impact on the Titans? 615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation. We'll play more from Mina Kimes' podcast, which led to me having this question in my mind. We'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
And then people say, well, he's a weapon. So I sent you guys this, but like, okay, it's not entirely fair to limit this to EPA when you're talking about receiving. But last year, total receiving EPA, Christian McCaffrey ranked 34th, expected points added, which is basically looking at every single play and asking how much does this get you closer to scoring a touchdown. It's your most totalistic way to look at value. Christian McCaffrey was 34th behind Parker Washington, whom I love. Bijan Robinson was 55th behind Elik Ayumanor. EPA per play, the highest ranked was Bijan Robinson, who was 85th behind Juwan Johnson. So, yes, a pass-catching running back is absolutely useful. And if you tell me Kyle Shanahan's coming with him, maybe we'll have a different conversation.
Right.
But by and large, this is not the best way to add value, not just to a team and salary and all of that, but to help your young quarterback. You need receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Tennessee, my dream outcome for them is trade down and get Carnell Tate somehow. Or you take one of the edge rushers because they desperately need that.
That was Mina Kimes, by the way. I did love the way she pronounced Elik Manor. It was spicy. A little spice to Elik Manor. But Derek, you're shaking your head. Based on what you heard, I guess?
Yeah, based on what I heard.
What
Listen,
didn't you like, Derek Mason?
Understands and knows from a national standpoint. But this is not just because it's Mia Kimes. I think if the name was Jody Kynes or Bob Kynes, it doesn't matter to me. If the words were the same, I still would be shaking my head. One, this is someone that really hasn't looked at the Titans in that manner because of sort of, they need to move, get Carnell Tate. They need a receiver. The receiver to me is not necessarily their problem right now. They went out and addressed portions of it. Wan'Dale Robinson should upgrade. A healthy Calvin Ridley, that upgrades, but he has to stay healthy. I get that. That upgrades the receiving room. They had 2 rookies that show promise. So that upgrades the room. Do they have the best receiving core? No, they don't. But it's, to me, again, unless they get a sweetheart deal, you stay at 4. And you're not drafting a receiver at 4. And I don't think they're trading out just to draft a receiver then at 4. I mean, at whatever pick, unless they're moving further down, which puts them out of the range of a impact player. But other than that, no. Listen, I understand the analytics. I do. I understand numbers. And she can use the numbers to justify that. And that's okay. But when I'm watching a game, or when Denard Wilson was on the sideline, he don't want to hear what you're talking about, because what he's game planning is for that guy to be an impact catching a football as well as running a football. Do you think that people just said, you know what, we just going to scout Christian McCaffrey for running a football? We're just going to base it on him running a football. No. You know what they did? They said, we gotta make sure we know where he's at when he's outside of the backfield, when he motions out, when he runs an angle, and when he runs between the tackles. We got to make sure we know where this kid is at all times. And if you don't think that affects a game, an offense, or then a defense, you're blind. You can throw the stats at me. I understand. I get it. These numbers that she threw out and they were low. I get that part. But when you are game planning on that day for that day, when you watch those teams like Atlanta, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Detroit Lions, they are talking about those backs being 3-dimensional. We got to cover the whole field from the backfield to the sidelines. That means them running the football as well as passing the football.
Here would be my
catching it.
Here would be my counter argument, and Willie can chime in as well. During that conversation, we did not play that part of the conversation, but during that conversation, she mentioned all of the wide receivers who played a part in a young quarterback breaking out. She mentioned Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert. She mentioned,
did Justin Herbert win the Super Bowl? He barely got to the damn playoffs.
Hold on, let me get through it. She mentioned Herbert
Mhm.
and Keenan Allen. She mentioned CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. She mentioned Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, among others. I believe she mentioned that Kyler Murray didn't begin to break out until he had DeAndre Hopkins. I forget that DeAndre Hopkins played for the Arizona Cardinals because I forget that the Arizona Cardinals exist most of the time. But that was her point, that those teams had those number one caliber wide receivers. And you're right. Jim Dike, Alec Ayamaner, or however Mina Kimes
And
pronounce
how
it.
she pronounce it?
Alec Ayamaner.
That means she doesn't watch the team much. And I'm not blaming her for that. I probably would have said it wrong too if I didn't cover the Titans.
I think he should go with that pronunciation next season. It sounds exotic, like Antonio Banderas, Alec Ayamaner. Like that's what I think he should do. But DK and Ayamaner had solid rookie seasons. We talked all season long about how rare it was for a quarterback to have his top 3 receiving targets be 4th-round rookies because it was Ayamaner and DK and Gunnar Helm. But the Titans don't have that guy. Calvin Ridley's back. We've talked about this many, many times. Calvin Ridley is a number 1 receiver on this team. I don't think he's considered a number 1 receiver in the NFL. Wan'Dale Robinson, he knows Brian Daboll. He can be effective, but he's also not a number 1 wide receiver. Easy for me to say. So that would be my counter argument. Like I look, Derek, you played the game, you know that I imagine that if the Titans were to draft Jeremiah Love, a lot of opposing defensive coordinators are going to spend all week long game planning for Jeremiah Love because you don't know what he's going to do out there. But I hear, and I would love Willie's thoughts on this, I hear Mina Kimes' argument that it's more about having a number 1 caliber receiver or an offensive line. The running back can help, but recently it appears that the running back doesn't move the needle as much as other positions when it comes to developing a young quarterback.
That's why the individual evaluation of this running back is everything, because to pick him 4th, you have to believe that he is going to be the guy and going to be the guy pretty early, because I completely agree with D-Mace that the impact of a player like that does help the whole team, not just the quarterback, but the game planning, all of that. He's just got to be that guy. There's plenty of teams that do go about it without that guy in the backfield that still find a way to make it work and win games, especially if you've got a quarterback that can compensate for it. All the running back has to do sometimes is keep you honest. But a special running back makes a special impact. I think Christian McCaffrey is a great example. So is he in that caliber? That's my only question. Is he that type of guy? If he is, and he's the best on the board there, then I'm all in.
When basically the whole NFL, those who do scouting, coaching, the consensus is he is that type of guy. If he wasn't, it wouldn't be this conversation of drafting him at a high. See, that's the problem that I have. People are saying, well, you can't draft him high because he's not. But everybody's telling y'all, if we were just ranking these guys based upon just your talent and he is higher than a lot of these other guys that they're talking about. Carnell Tate, Sonny Styles, all these guys. Some even think that he's the best player in the draft, period. So obviously the whole football world thinks he's that guy. So that's why I can't wrap my mind when I hear things like this. It's not like there's people saying that, oh, he's just the best running back. Like he's the best running back. That's what he is. But people are saying he's the best talent in the NFL. That means quarterback people, running back, wide receivers, tackles, defensive ends, punters, kickers, whoever, coaches, whoever. He's a top 4 guy. And in some people's mind, he's number 1 or number 2. So when the consensus across the board is that, you can't tell me that he's not an impact player. The only thing you can come to me with is say, well, what if he gets hurt? Well, I can say that about Sonny Styles. I can say that about Carnell Tate. Okay, if the Titans move down in the draft, I'm not moving down unless you give me 2 first-round picks. Because then if me and Kyle say, well, they'll draft Carnell Tate. Well, I need to get Carnell Tate, and I need to get a defensive player in the first round, too. And right now, the only team I think can do that is the Dallas Cowboys. I think they have 2 first-round picks.
There are a lot of teams that have multiple first-round picks
in this year's draft.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are teams that can do it. Unless you're doing that for me where I can get 2 guys in the first round, i.e. the Houston Texans a few years ago, then I'm not moving. Because I'm not moving 1 spot down just to get some future picks, just to draft Carnell Tate. No, I gotta get more than that in the first round. And Carnell Tate is a hell of a receiver, but Carnell Tate is not in people's mind a top 10 guy.
I'm trying to think
when you're talking about overall talent.
I believe the Browns have multiple first round picks. The Cowboys have multiple first round picks. The Colts have no first round picks because they traded them all.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have multiple first round picks.
So if I'm them, the only teams I'm
Dolphins.
trading, I'm only, and the Dolphins ain't trading away their picks. They're not doing that. They barely got any. They don't have no money.
The Jets.
So unless you're giving me two of your first round picks this year, both of them, I mean, we're swapping, but then you give me your extra one, then I'm not moving because I want to be able to get both a guy on offense and a guy on defense if I choose. I'm not going to just move down and get some future picks next year or a second round pick this year. No, I want 2 first rounders to move out of this spot.
So if it was GM Derek Mason and the Kansas City Chiefs called and said, we want to move up to 4, you would say, give me 9 and 29.
Give me 9 and 29 to start. 9 and 29. That's the start.
Driving a hard bargain, Derek Mason.
Yeah, because obviously you want to move up. And there's somebody in particular you want that you think will not be there. So if that's the case, let's start negotiating.
615-737-1025. We'll continue this conversation on the other side. I'm wondering, after hearing those clips from Mina Kimes, if we are at all exaggerating Jeremiah Love's potential impact on the Titans. 615-737-1025. I do want to ask Derek Mason about a player Mina Kimes did mention in that clip. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Let me tell all of you that our off-season coverage here on 1025 The Game is proudly presented by Tennessee Brew Works, locally brewed, community-driven. Tennessee Brew Works, the official craft beer of the football off-season coverage, right here on 1025 The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Derek Mason brought this to my attention.
We got to talk
during
about this
the break
tomorrow.
From Fox Sports Knoxville. Quote, Lady Vols guard and former 5-star recruit Jada Civil has entered the transfer portal, leaving coach Kim Caldwell with 0 players on the roster.
Man. Well, before
I can't believe that's true. 0 players?
No, it says, well, I'm reading ESPN now.
Okay.
Tennessee roster shrinks to 1. Now, that was
at
there's
5
o'clock.
There's
that
1.
was at 5:01. So there's 1 person left on their roster. Tennessee guard Civil announced Monday that she is entering the transfer portal, and Edwards as well. The number 2 recruit.
Edwards, yep.
Yeah, the number 2 recruit in South Carolina's next 100 class in 2026. Man,
we were talking about last week, right? The gap shrinking between Tennessee and Vanderbilt in sports. What has become of the Lady Vols, Willie Donick?
Gosh, Willie?
Well, it's been something to follow, for really over a decade now. When you get down to it, is the steady slip.
Seemed like erosion
of that program, which was at the top of the top, right? I mean, it was just phenomenal what they did. The most special of the special. To the point where, if you're somebody like me that's, it goes to the rival school, you could not help but admire the greatness of what Pat Summitt built there. But just like this does happen sometimes, you just can't find exactly the right person, the right fit. And I do think the women's game, just like every sport, but particularly in women's basketball, because that was probably a sport of titans for decades, right? It was Tennessee, it was UConn, and maybe a handful of others in the mix there. And then recently, South Carolina. There just haven't been that many giant teams beyond the first couple. Now, I do think it's a little more spread apart. There's just more good programs that can hang, and it's harder to stay that dominant, just like Kentucky men's basketball is finding out.
And congratulations, by the way, to UCLA for winning the women's national championship, blowing out South Carolina.
But I don't even
I didn't see any of the 3 games coming in that Final Four. That surprised me.
I don't think it's that, Willie. I really don't, because UConn is able to survive. South Carolina is able to survive. Notre Dame, UCLA, Texas.
Yeah.
These teams are able to still get their
Right.
athletes. There's something wrong with this program.
Yeah.
There is something really wrong with this program, because the name UT alone, Lady Vols alone, should get you recruits and keep them. When you can't keep recruits at a historic giant like UT in their Lady Vol program, it's bigger than just NIL. It's something different from NIL, and they have, now that women's college basketball has sort of exploded, it's bigger than that. Because you can't tell me a program like this. If that was the case, then you could have said UConn is going to lose talent, or SC is going, South Carolina is going to lose talent, or some of these other teams are going to lose talent that have been pretty good for years on. LSU, same way.
Apparently,
but it's only happening to UT.
Apparently, Holly Rowe, ESPN reporter, had a social media post that she has since deleted, which said, quote, "What Danny White is allowing to happen to @Lady Vol Hoops is making me so sad. Gut-wrenching to watch him let one of the greatest programs in women's sports history disintegrate. I am devastated," end quote.
I think she got a point. Because we're all watching
exactly.
We're all the denigration of the program. They're not the same program they used to be.
Is he doing something? Is he not providing resources? Or do they not have the NIL? I'd find that hard.
Well, maybe that's why she deleted the post.
Yeah.
But I do think that, as Derek said, regardless of whether she's pointing blame at the right person in that post, it is remarkable how quickly that storied program has eroded over the past several years. It really, I'm fascinated to see what happens. And we will get into both the women's and men's national championship games in just a little bit. But I do want to wrap up our conversation on Jeremiah Love and the NFL draft by talking about Carnell Tate, Derek.
Mhm.
You said that you would not take Carnell Tate at number 4.
No.
Mina Kimes said that her dream scenario for the Titans would be to trade down and get Jeremiah Love later in the first round. I'm not sure how long Tate is going to last. But my question for you, Derek, it's the same question I asked Teron Davenport earlier in the show. Ohio State is a wide receiver factory. I mean, think about all of the fantastic receivers in history who have played for Ohio State, including Chris Sanders. But I'm not talking about Chris Sanders here. When you think about Carnell Tate versus some of the other receivers who have recently gone to Ohio State, such as Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, where would you put Tate in that mix?
Listen, all these guys had to sit behind a guy, you know. All these guys had to sort of, at one point, play Robin to Batman, whether it was Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Jackson Smith and Jigma, Chris Olave. You can go back to Terry Glenn. Yeah, all of these guys at one point, especially within the the last 5 years, 6 years, all these guys had to share the wealth. I think for Carnell Tate, maybe he's not as gifted as the other receivers that we've named. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Harrison, Wilson. Maybe he's not, and even Wilson, they all had to share. Like they had to, they had to come up in the ranks, so to speak. Maybe he's doesn't have some of the things that those guys have. That doesn't diminish who I believe he will be as an NFL player. Because just because you are playing alongside of Jeremiah Smith doesn't mean you're going to get the numbers. You see what I'm saying? Because just because they're double teaming him doesn't mean you're going to beat your one-on-one coverage. You got to find a way to beat your one-on-one coverage and then catch the football.
From what I understand.
And that's what he has been doing.
He's outstanding at contested catches.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't drop the ball.
He doesn't drop the ball. So
that seems like a 4th overall talent to me.
And I believe in Carnell Tate because there's evidence there with the other receivers. And the same coach that some of those other receivers had, I think he has as well. Did Heartland end up leaving his senior? Is Heartland still there? Heartline, excuse me. Is he still there?
Good question.
Because I know he is taking a job somewhere possibly. He was either the OC or the receivers coach.
He is the head coach of South Florida now.
Okay, so all of them had Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate had, Heartline, as did those other receivers. So I'm believing what he's teaching those guys. So that tells me Carnell Tate is going to be a player in this league. But at 4, I'm not taking him. If I trade out of that and move to, say, 9, for instance, yeah, now I'm thinking about taking him, or 10, or anything. Now I'm thinking about taking him. But there's nobody, and I repeat, nobody that's saying take Tate in the top 5. There's nobody. He's barely I think his name comes up right around 7, 8, I think, somewhere around there. And not everybody has him at that spot. So if they move outside of the top 8 or 8 and lower, then okay, now we could think about taking Tate, or move outside the top 10. Now we could think about taking him.
Matt Miller of ESPN posted earlier today, quote, "If I had to bet today, I'd say Carnell Tate's over-under should be at 6.5 overall."
Okay.
For what it's worth.
6.5. So even if I'm at 4, I'm not taking him. I got to move down, and then that's where I would think about taking Tate. But you got to give me another first-round pick if indeed you want to move up that high. I'm not doing business with a team that can't give me 2 first-round picks this year, because that's valuable. That inside that top 5 is valuable. So if you want to jump inside that top 5, well, give me 2 first-round picks, and then you can get in there.
Well, here is my question for either Willie or Derek. let's say the Titans don't take Jeremiah Love. Let's say the Titans decide to take one of the edge rushers, David Bailey, Ruben Bain. Maybe they take Sonny Styles. Let's say they take a defensive player with the 4th overall pick. I know, Derek, that you have talked so much and you have personal experience. You've talked so much about how helpful the Ravens defense in 2008 was for the development of Joe Flacco. I am not taking away that aspect. But are you putting Cam Ward in the best position to succeed offensively when you're bringing back Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, presumably, if you're not drafting Jeremiah Love, and you've got Calvin Ridley coming off of a major injury, you've got Wan'Dale Robinson coming off of a career year, Io Manor and DK, we'll see if they can continue to develop. Are you hindering Ward's development if you're not giving him either a wide receiver like Tate or Jeremiah Love with that pick?
Hindering, it helps. I don't think you will necessarily, unless you don't upgrade the offensive line. And I get, but I sort of take the offensive line out of it, because with a great back or not a great back, you got to have an offensive line. You just do that. You can have a great wide receiver. If you don't have a good offensive line, it's not going to matter, because he's not going to be able to get the ball to him. So I sort of take the offensive line out of it, in a sense of, I know we need an offensive lineman. Everybody knows they need an offensive line. But when I look at it from, just the skill player standpoint, I'm not going to say they're going to make themselves worse. I think they are who they are from an offensive standpoint, in particular the running back. I think they have a good running back room, a solid running back room. If they had to go into the season this year with that same running back group, I mean, I wouldn't be excited, but my thing would be, well, they better make sure they have a really good offensive line, if indeed they're coming back with the same group of guys in the running back room. Again, not drafting Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Love, I don't think it necessarily hurts. But when you draft one of those guys, it helped expedite that learning curve.
What I found interesting, Willie, to your point about, is Jeremiah Love that type of prospect who is worth the 4th overall pick? Matt Miller, who I just referenced from ESPN, had an article the other day looking at the number of prospects he would give a 1st-round grade to in this draft. He only gave 13 1st-round grades last season. He's only giving 12.
So he went down one, taking one away.
Okay.
Jeremiah Love is one of the 12, along with Carnell Tate. He's one of the 12 as well. I was actually surprised to see Ruben Bain not one of his 12.
Oh, wow.
Here are the 12 he has: Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah Love, Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver from Southern Cal, Carnell Tate, Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm sorry. Francis Mauigua. I don't know. The offensive tackle from Miami. I apologize to his family. David Bailey from Texas Tech, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee, and Mansour Delaney as well at cornerback, Caleb Downs at safety. Those are the players Matt Miller has with 1st-round grades in the draft.
See, I pay close attention to numbers like that. And it would be more impactful for the Titans if the Titans were picking, below 15 or something, because then you'd have to keep all of that in mind. But when you're picking 4th, and let's say your board looks similar, let's say you differ by 1 or 2 of these guys, right? And then maybe you got 15 or 16. I would be just seeing what that pick is worth to somebody who's picking below that, and they want to get up in there. And maybe you take the 9th pick or the 8th pick, the 12th pick, and then you get a lot more for down the road. I would be open-minded to that. But it comes down to, when you have the 4th pick, if you think there is that dude, a game changer, the needle mover. We've come up with new ways to say the same thing, right? But
yes,
you've got to have that guy that is a game changer for you.
By the way, Derek,
Yes.
Matt Miller has Cooper Kupp as Cardinal Tate's comp. He writes, on tape, Tate looks like Kupp or a Justin Jefferson level prospect when comparing their college games. Tate is a polished, crisp route runner with the body control to adjust mid-route or attack the ball in the air. He had one drop on 67 targets last season and showed he can consistently win in contested catch situations.
He reminds me of T. Higgins in college, and he reminds me of T. Higgins in the NFL.
You've been on the T. Higgins thing for quite a bit.
That's who he reminds me of, which, listen, T. Higgins to me in my mind is the number one receiver. Now he plays along Jefferson, not Jefferson, but the other receiver.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah, Chase. He plays alongside Chase, but that's why he's considered 1B instead of 1A. But I believe, he is the number one receiver. And I see Carnell Tate sort of in that mode. But again, I wouldn't draft, T. Higgins a top 4 pick if he was coming out and I said, well, he reminds me of Tate. If Tate had already came out, I still wouldn't be picking T. Higgins as a 4th overall pick. But is he a first round pick, a top 15? Yeah, absolutely. So if indeed you want to move out of that spot, I keep saying it has to be with someone that can give me 2 first round picks. I just don't want one this year. I want 2 this year.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, we look ahead to the national championship game, UConn versus Michigan, coming up later tonight. But let's first talk about what made the most headlines in college basketball over the weekend. 615-737-1025. Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
for 41 years I've been coaching, and I've been, I don't know, 25 Final Fours. And the protocol is before the game, you meet at half court. Anybody ever see that before? Two coaches meet at half court and they shake hands. Correct? You ever see it? They announce it on the loudspeaker. And I waited there for like 3 minutes. So it is what it is.
That was Gino Auriemma after UConn lost 62-48 to South Carolina in one of the national semifinals. That was a major headline this weekend in sports. Congratulations to UCLA for winning the women's national title. UCLA dominated South Carolina. But Willie, what did you think of Gino Auriemma's hysterics after the game?
I would say for him, probably not worth going to the lengths that he did to try to make his point, which I didn't think he did super clear. He was clearly frustrated with the officiating and went wild in one of those courtside interviews, which usually 9 times out of 10 doesn't give you a lot of nuggets to work with. But man, he just went off. He threw an expletive out there on live TV. So, look, he is a legend in coaching for sure. And Danny Hurley was even joking that maybe he's had a bad influence on Gino. But that guy's done everything there is to do. So I just don't think that he needed to go to the lengths he did after the game. It seemed a little petty. Even if it deep down it frustrated him, and I don't know if Dawn Staley was trying to get in his head or anything like that, but she clearly got in his head, whether she was trying to or not.
And Derek, I read a great column from Jerry Brewer of The Athletic, who was at that game. And his summary, his opinion, I should say, was that Auriemma is coming to terms with the fact that he is no longer the undisputed king of women's college basketball. Dawn Staley has met him. They are in the same stratosphere now. For a long time, there weren't any other coaches in the same stratosphere as Gino Auriemma. The late Pat Summitt, for sure. But since then, Auriemma's been on his own island. Dawn Staley has leveled up with Auriemma, and this was him coming to terms with that and maybe lashing out a little bit.
Listen, I'm not going to make no excuse for it. It was idiotic.
He did apologize via statement, by the way.
He didn't apologize. That wasn't an apology.
Okay.
That was the university saying, hey, listen, you need to put something out, and we're going to write it for you. But something needs to come out because what you did was classless. 100%. You can't dance around it. It was class. I don't care how many games he won. I don't care how much of a giant he's been at this sport. Let's not make this seem like this is the only guy. He was getting into it with Pat Summitt.
Oh, yeah.
The late, great Pat Summitt. So this is not his first.
Playing after a while.
This ain't the first time this bully, when somebody can stand up to him and punch him right back in the face, start doing these other little antics.
There was a clip that went around on social media after this. I guess Pat Summitt did an interview a long time ago. I think Candace Parker dunked in a game for Tennessee against UConn. And she said something to the effect of Gino wouldn't have been able to handle it if Candace did it twice. Like she only dunked once because Gino wouldn't have been able to handle it if she did it twice. But please.
Yeah, but to me, there's decorum in sports. And this is the bully continuing to get punched in his face. And he doesn't like it. He did it to Pat Summitt. He's doing it now in this situation. Don't make no excuses for it. It diminishes him. I think it does. It diminishes the legacy that he had. Because again, this is not a one-off. This is not something that, it just happened one time. He got a little bit beside. He's known for doing stuff like this. He's been a Titan for so long, he doesn't like change. He doesn't like that his program at the end all be all, even though at that point they had won every game in this season at that point.
He doesn't like that someone else is starting to encroach on his territory.
Exactly. And instead of saying, listen, I just talked to Don after that. Let her team have their moment. I will talk to Don after that. Get on the phone with her and let that be a conversation. No, he wanted to hijack the whole thing. That's what bullies do. When you stand up to them, they start pointing out other things, or they start, and then they want to make up. Like he sat there and even when they asked him on the podium after the game, he still reiterated about his own player tearing up her jersey. Like, listen, the problem with Gino is, again, South Carolina came to play. They came and they were physical. And he doesn't like it. And his players were not physical.
He was agitated by
He was very agitated.
By the officiating.
You had girls crying on the court from UConn. That shows you how much mentally and physically they were dominating UConn, and it got to their head coach. And instead of showing class and shaking the hands, he goes off. Like, who does that? Like, Don Staley didn't do that to him last year when they beat him in the national championship game. Gave him a handshake, good job, and go apart. Was she upset? I'm sure she was. But she didn't throw all this other stuff at him. But when it's done to him, he doesn't know how to be composed. And he doesn't know how to show class personified. He wants to be classless because his team got beat down and he got outcoached. He can't come to grips to that. This lady outcoached me. He couldn't come to grips with Pat Summitt was outcoaching him in recruiting just as well as he was. He can't come to grips to that. That's a bully. He's won a bunch of games, and he's a Titan in that space. But he's a bully. He can't help. He doesn't know what to do when somebody's going to punch back at him.
And for the longest time, there wasn't anybody
Exactly.
to punch back at him. But now you have Dawn Staley and others who...
Those coaches aren't scared of him. That's the thing. Pat wasn't scared of him. Staley's not scared of him. Mulkey's, some of these coaches are not scared of him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know how to handle that. And that lame ass excuse or apology he gave without mentioning Dawn Staley's name. You didn't say Dawn Staley. You addressed Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley, excuse me. You addressed Dawn Staley, not her team. You didn't go off on her team. You went off on Dawn Staley. But then the apology was the staff. Bruh, that ain't gonna fly. You need to mention her by name.
Let me read the statement. Quote, "There's no excuse for how I handled the end of the game versus South Carolina. It's unlike what I do and what our standard is here at Connecticut. I want to apologize to the staff and the team at South Carolina. It was uncalled for in how I reacted. The story should be how well South Carolina played, and I don't want my actions to detract from that. I've had a great relationship with their staff, and I sincerely want to apologize to them," end quote.
I would love to know how they arrived at the wording of that statement. And
Exactly.
No, seriously. I want to know if he was on board and really did feel like, you know what, we do need to do this. Or somebody went to him and said, Gino, this is what I wrote out. Take a look at this because you are signing off on some version of this and we are putting it out there. Like it could have been anywhere in between, right? You just wonder behind the scenes if he's really sorry or if he's like forced to have to put that out there.
See what happens is, I think, and listen, we're all, guilty of it at times, I guess, in a sense, is that we think or we believe because Gino has been so dominant and Gino has won
He's
so many
Philly through and through. That doesn't
Yeah.
sound like Gino to
And-
apologize for something like
and
that.
he can't, we can't say anything bad about Gino. We gotta sort of tell a story, but also say, but Gino was a hell of a coach. And no, again, I go back to what my mama used to tell me: call a spade, and you can move on after that. We could talk about some other stuff after that, but let's call a spade a spade. And what Gino Auriemma is a bully. And we're starting to see it even more.
One texter says that apology was BS. He didn't even mention Dunn or the respect he has for her. Only
Exactly.
respect for their staff. Just more bogus, passive-aggressive BS. Julio says, don't forget to mention Muffet McGraw, winning record
Yes.
against him in the tournament and lots of fights like this. Dylan in Antioch says, I'm sick of these college basketball coaches in the men's and women's game acting like lunatics and losing all composure seemingly all the time. They ask so much of these kids to act mature and have their coaches out there acting like actual children. It's embarrassing for the sport.
That just because he said he didn't. And listen, whether that's true or not, I can't, speak on that. Whether, he didn't mean to do that. That's only up to him. But you did it. And it affected the game. And listen, you've been in the game long enough. This is what I'm going to say. You've been in the game long enough to know, just like my mommy would tell me, you've been in this house long enough to know you don't do that. I shouldn't have to tell you. You know not to do that. He's been coaching too long to know you don't do something like that, which tells me that even though I said, you can't tell whether, which tells me he knew exactly what he was doing. He was trying to take the moment away. He was trying, but you didn't do it. What you made yourself look an ass. That's what you did. A complete one, and then your apology didn't make it no better.
615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show next. We'll look ahead to the men's national championship game, UConn versus Michigan. And we'll also take one last look at yet another massive game for the Predators tonight in LA. 615-737-1025. Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to give out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. But Law Tigers fights to get you the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they know how much your bike is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired or better yet replaced. So call 1-800-LAW Tigers or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fusion, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Street South. And don't forget, go to predatorsbike.com to enter to win the custom Nashville Predator Indian motorcycle signed by the entire team, courtesy of Law Tigers in Music City, Indiana. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you as we wrap up this show. We've got a full show planned for you tomorrow.
It's going to be great.
Scott Wheeler of The Athletic, who recently ranked the Predators at number 5 in his NHL prospect pool rankings, will join the show at 3:20 tomorrow to talk to us about that. Trevor Maddich will join us in the 4 o'clock hour. Barry Trotz will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. We've got a full show for you tomorrow. During the break, however,
yes,
Derek Mason is all about the Artemis 2 astronauts who have now ventured farther from Earth than anyone else in the history of humanity.
And they are about, I think, 1 minute now.
They're about to go blackout.
All communications because they are about to, orbit around the moon, the dark side of the moon. Currently, the velocity is 935 miles per hour.
Wow.
Distance from the Earth, they are 252,716 miles. And the distance to the moon is 4,139 miles from the moon. Now, they've completely lost communication with Artemis 2, which means they are propelling around the dark side. The last time I heard the dark side of the moon was Transformers. The Transformers living on the dark side of the moon.
Or the Pink Floyd album.
Oh, yeah. So there may be some Transformers on the backside of the moon.
You don't strike me as a Pink Floyd guy, Derek.
No,
Mason.
I'm not a Pink Floyd guy. I know who Pink Floyd is, but I'm not a Pink Floyd guy. But this is what I love this. And I've been tracking this. I love this. It's Artemis 2.
Isn't science neat?
Yeah, it is. But I'm a conspiracy theorist. So I'm
God,
not going to get into
here we go.
No. I'm not even about to, because I'm not about to go into that. But why is it when they show pictures and video from space, we never see the stars? Y'all can't even answer that. When they show from space, like if they, some of you see the Earth, they do, but then they show parts like it's just out there. Why do we never see the stars?
I have an answer for you.
Why is that?
The stars are there. They're just too faint to show up in the photographs.
That's what it says?
That's what the Planetary Society tells me.
Oh, no, I'm not believing that. IMT conspiracy theory number 1,000,002. There you go.
Oh, man.
No, I don't like why we never. But I am excited about, Artemis 2 and them. I wonder what they're going to see on the dark side of the sun, on the dark side of the moon. I wonder what they're going to see.
I guess we'll find out. But science is neat. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Science is neat. Tonight, 7:50 p.m. Central on TBS. Derek's favorite team, the Michigan Wolverines, going for the national championship against UConn. Michigan favored by 6.5. Michigan wiped the floor with Arizona. I did not see that one coming. This Michigan team is a unit. And I am curious to see what happens when this Michigan squad goes up against a UConn team, which is in its 3rd national title game in 4 years. But Derek, I want to know how you're feeling, because I know that you cannot possibly root for Michigan.
No.
However, if Michigan wins, it would end what, Willie, a 25-year drought for the Big Ten?
Yeah.
Ooh, I never even thought about that.
Since your Spartans, right?
Yeah, since my Spartans won.
In 2000?
Nobody from the Big Ten has won.
Nobody has won.
Nope.
No.
Mm-mm.
Did not know that.
Well, you learned something today.
Learned something today. Man, listen.
Put your Spartan pride to the side.
It's hard to do that, man. It's hard to do. But listen, Michigan they're a good team, man. And, listening to Coach Calipari, they were on before the game or whatnot. And they were just talking about the sport, period. And Michigan is an older team. And what you're starting to see now is an older team seems to be the quickest way to a championship. Not only are they older, but they can damn play. Like, I haven't seen a team in quite, maybe the UConn team when they were, but this team is big and athletic. And when they are hitting from the outside, Lindenborg is unstoppable. The kid is good. Now, is he going to be fully healthy tonight?
That's the question.
That's the big question. But man, he can do it all. It's hard to beat Michigan because they're disciplined in what they do. They shoot really good from the outside, and they got a low post presence, and they play great defense. And I hate to say that. I hate it, but I'm just calling it what it is. If any team can beat them, I think it would be UConn. Because
UConn's got an issue as well with solo ball.
Yeah. But if you're just talking, I think Hurley's a really good coach. That's what's going to win it for UConn, if indeed UConn wins, is how well will Coach Hurley coach this game? That's what, because he coached a really good game last game. I didn't see that one coming. UConn
that was
playing
an
like
ugly
that. Yeah.
game.
I didn't see that. It was
an
just
ugly game.
Nobody could shoot. I thought Illinois
I didn't
doing
see
the right
that
things,
coming.
but just could not throw the ball in the ocean. I'm you got to give UConn a lot of credit because I think when they won the 2 titles, for the most part, they just cleaned everybody's clock. I look at Michigan more like that team this year.
Yeah,
they're just the most talented team. So UConn is more the team that's got to bob and weave and find a way to stay in this game tonight. I think, especially if solo ball is not 100%. And it looks like the type of injury that he's not going to be 100%. And I think the same is true
for Lindenborg.
But think about it. This is how good Michigan is. They're playing Arizona, who is considered a powerhouse. Lindenborg twists his ankle in the first 5-10 minutes of the game. He plays 15 minutes
right before
half. And they still beat him by 18. They didn't skip a beat when he went out because the rest of their team is that good. So I think Michigan is prepared to handle Lindenborg not 100% better than UConn with ball not 100%. So I still think Michigan, if they play anywhere close to the way they've been playing, I think they will handle UConn tonight.
And by the way, we would be remiss if we did not congratulate the Auburn Tigers, NIT champions.
That's all you can do when you feel like you got snubbed. Is go win the NIT.
Yeah, I guess so.
With their 16 losses, they should have made the tournament. That whole thing was absurd in the lead up to Selection Sunday. But hey, the Tigers showed us they did win a championship, albeit the NIT championship. But Willie has talked about his experience in the NIT, and it was a wonderful experience. So maybe the Tigers had the same experience.
Well, it honestly, it can launch you back in the right direction. It probably, hopefully, helps Stephen Pearl's credibility, with that fan base, and maybe with his own players, with prospective other players. I mean, you have to have something to sell, and they did have a very tough schedule. But I do think sometimes that could be a good springboard to future success, winning the NIT. Maybe not as much for the Auburn program because they've been so high. He's trying to make sure he's not losing everything that's been built over there.
Let's go to Matt, who has an answer for Derek on his Stars question. Matt, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
So D-Base, I had that same question years ago, and here's my understanding of what the answer is. When you're out in space, there's no air or anything to reflect light that comes from the sun. So when something reflects, when the sun hits something and reflects light off of it, it's so intense, it is so bright, that in order for you to get a camera capture of that, you have to turn the aperture so low so that you can actually see details of that object, that the starlight, which is so dim in the background, does not get picked up by the lens.
Oh, okay.
That's my understanding of it. And it's pretty and it's pretty consistent from any trip into space that's not going to the moon. You will see that on any picture that's looking at, say, the side of the spacecraft. And also, if you look at the moon, the full moon on a super bright full moon night, if you stare straight at it, you will not be able to see that much of stars behind it because your retinas have to close so that you can see and focus on detail.
Thank you, Matt.
Hey, I learned something today.
Look at that.
There we go. That's why I don't see the star.
Our listeners are great.
I'm still a little skeptical.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm messing, but no, thank you for the information because I've always wondered, why is it that they don't see stars, or we can't see them when they're out in space. So he gave us an explanation. So I thank you. I appreciate that.
Now you don't have to go home with your lab coat
Absolutely.
and your microscope and your telescope and do all of these experiments because Matt told you all that
Matt.
you needed to know. Let's go to our friend Dr. Locke on our phone line. Dr. Locke, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
What's up, fellas? What's up, D-Man?
What's going on?
Hey, man, just 30 years of sports betting. You know, I called in, talked to Jake Lyman before the weekend and said, hey, bet the farm, give up the on Michigan. Michigan will win by 10 points. He scoffed at me, said, hey, I got my money on Arizona. Okay, all right. But if Dr. Locke says, hook them, that a mouse can tow a trailer, hook it up. I'm telling you, Vegas has built casinos on any time the whole public is on a team. And everywhere, anywhere, Michigan beats Arizona. All they remember is Michigan beat Arizona by 30 points, and now it's not going to be a game tonight. To quote the late, great Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. This team has been in there 3 out of 4 years. They're not going to choke. They've got experience. I mean, you got Caravan. That guy's been in there for 3 years in a row. This team's not going to flinch at the tip. And if you can grab 7 points, that's a strong number. I'd take 7 points in UConn all day long.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Locke. By the way, Lee Corso isn't dead.
No.
He said the late, great Lee Corso.
Yeah, he's still around. Don't kill him off just yet.
Lee Corso, still kicking.
Yeah, don't kill him off just yet.
Not so fast, my friend.
But
Lee Corso is still alive.
I said if anybody can do it, it's Bobby Hurley, Hurley and UConn, because I think he's a really good coach. I don't think people. I'm not sure how many people pick UConn in the national championship.
Not a lot, because that region was stacked. But look, I have a soft spot for the Hurley family.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Hurley is one of my dad's all-time favorites. He and Christian Laettner brought my dad so many happy memories.
I'm sure he did.
But I can't stand Dan Hurley, man. I can't. And as I said, I am a petty sports fan. So although the UConn women did not break my heart a week and a half ago, I was thrilled to see them lose. And I would love, I know you may not like this, Derek Mason.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Michigan do to UConn what they did to Arizona.
Oh, man.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for Michigan domination. I mean, I don't really like Michigan either, but I definitely don't like UConn. So I'm going with the lesser of two evils here. I'm pulling for the Wolverines tonight. I'm sorry, Derek. But you know what? The Big Ten will get its long-awaited men's national championship.
I still can't root for Michigan. I just can't do it. Can't do it. Won't do it.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens tonight in the men's national title game. UConn versus Michigan. The Predators, yet another big game back in LA tonight against the Kings. 9:30 p.m. Central. Puck drop. 8:30 p.m. Central pregame. Right here on 102.5 The Game. A reminder, full show tomorrow. Scott Wheeler of The Athletic at 3:20. Trevor Maddich at 4:20. Barry Trotz at 5 o'clock. We'll have you covered all bases starting tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Like the great one.
Wayne Gretzky?
No, not Wayne Gretzky.
The Rock?
Now you made me forget the name now.
You said the great one.
No, it's not that. Now you messed me up. Stop it, Adam. You messed me up. Goodness gracious.
Go ahead.
I didn't lost the name, man. Mike Singletary, like the great Mike Singletary said, can't play with him, can't win with him, can't coach him. That's how I feel about Michigan. All right? But until tomorrow,
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Wayne Gretzky.
But until tomorrow, I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. See you tomorrow, 3 p.m., live on 102.5 The Game. Peace.